plenary chamber in the Reichstag building is where the most important political debates in Germany take place. Laws are made here, the federal chancellor elected, ministers are sworn in, and the government held to account. Citizens have the opportunity to observe the plenary sessions live as a visitor.
Hier schlägt das
The
Herz
heart of democracy
der Demokratie
beats or fails to beat here.
My name is Brigitte Rubel. I am one of 60 ushers in the German Bundestag, or to give us our official title, plenary attendants. We are the silent helpers, ensuring that plenary sittings run smoothly. The dress coat is our kind of trademark, and it is more than just a uniform. It reflects the dignity of Parliament.
The work of the Parliament mainly takes place during sitting weeks. From Monday to Friday, a fixed procedure is followed. In non-sitting weeks, the members mainly work in their constituencies. The central task of the Bundestag is to pass legislation. It also scrutinizes the work of the government and approves the federal budget. The Bundestag determines the framework under which the individual ministries operate. The members are the elected representatives of the people. With their votes, they decide who governs and by what rules society in Germany is defined. The often controversial plenary debates reflect the diversity of opinion in our country.
In diesem Sinne wünsche ich uns allen eine konstruktive Beratung zu diesem wichtigen Gesetz.
The President of the Bundestag represents the Bundestag and therefore the legislature. One of his central and best-known duties is conducting the sittings of the plenary. He is supported in his work by his deputies, the vice presidents. Like the President of the Bundestag, they are elected for a period of one electoral term. Together, they form the Presidium of the German Bundestag. The Presidium meets regularly to discuss matters affecting the management of the Bundestag. During these meetings, the President of the Bundestag and the Vice Presidents ensure that the Bundestag's rules of procedure are respected.
Ich rufe jetzt auf die Tagesordnungspunkte 4a und 4b.
Der Änderungsantrag ist mit den Stimmen der Koalitionsfraktionen gegen die Stimmen der Oppositionsfraktionen abgelehnt.
Ich rufe auf den Einzelplan 15.
Nach einer interfraktionellen Vereinbarung sind für Aussprache 96 Minuten vorgesehen.
Wir kommen jetzt zum Tagesordnungspunkt 14.
Der Gesetzentwurf ist damit in zweiter Beratung einstimmig angenommen.
The President is further supported in his duties by the Council of Elders, which is composed of 23 members. These are not necessarily the oldest members, but usually those with the most parliamentary experience. The Council of Elders plays a very important role in the course of plenary sessions. For example, it sets the dates of sitting weeks well in advance, then agrees the plenary agenda on an ongoing basis. The Council of Elders is a forum where disputes that have arisen are discussed and mediated.
From up here, you have the best overview of the plenary chamber. The members sit in front of us, divided into their parliamentary groups.
Members from a specific party, or in the case of the CDU, CSU, two related parties, form a parliamentary group. Here the members develop unified political opinions, which the group then presents in Bundestag debates. The meetings of the parliamentary groups are held at the beginning of the sitting week and are where the groups define their goals and strategies for the coming week. Most members have their offices in Jakob Kaiser building, right next to the Reichstag building. Jakob Kaiser was active as a Christian trade union leader in the resistance against Hitler and worked on drafting the German Basic Law in the Parliamentary Council of 1948 to 49. Each member has employees who assist them in carrying out their many tasks. The allocation of the offices changes after each general election. Depending on the result, the parliamentary groups are entitled to more or fewer offices. The connecting tunnels to the Reichstag building ensure short commutes.
People often think we're only here to serve water, but that's the least of our duties. During plenary sittings, we deliver messages for the members. Apart from the parliamentarians, only the attendants are allowed in the plenary chamber, making us the most important link with the outside.
Paul-Löbe building, among others, is the place where the 23 permanent committees of the German Bundestag meet. Paul-Löbe was a member of the Constituent National Assembly in 1919 and was president of the Reichstag from 1920 to 1932. As a member of the Parliamentary Council, he was one of the fathers of the Basic Law. The glass facade of the main entrance also symbolizes the political transparency of the Bundestag. Approximately 1,000 offices and more than 20 committee rooms are spread over 8 floors. The actual detailed work is carried out here by the members. It is here where the Bundestag as a working parliament can be seen most clearly. This is where the parliamentary group spokespeople come into their own. They discuss detailed questions before a bill, for example, is adopted as a draft resolution for Parliament. The committee meetings are increasingly open to the public and are broadcast by Parliament television. The work of the Committee for the Environment, Nature Conservation, Building and Nuclear Safety is focused on the preservation of our resources. The committee deals with issues such as climate change, preservation of biodiversity, more efficient use of resources, and the comprehensive refurbishment of buildings, amongst others. Labour and social affairs. These words cover important policy areas such as pensions, labour market policy, unemployment benefits, and the inclusion of people with disabilities. The committee is one of the largest and ensures that the world of work is accessible for everybody and that all generations receive a fair opportunity. A special position is occupied by the Petitions Committee. Here the Bundestag is very close to the people. The Petitions Committee receives concerns and complaints from citizens which are taken up by the members. The Petitions Committee learns firsthand how laws affect citizens and is thus able to gauge the mood among the population. The Parliamentary Commissioner for the Armed Forces also receives petitions. He is responsible for parliamentary oversight of the armed forces, upholds the basic rights of military personnel, and reports to the Bundestag on the internal state of the federal armed forces. A footbridge over the River Spree connects Paul-Löbe building with Marie Elisabeth Lüders building. Marie Elisabeth Lüders was one of the most important politicians working in the area of social policy and a leading representative of the women's movement in Germany. This building houses the Parliamentary Documentation Division, among others. Here, the publicly available materials of the Bundestag and the Bundesrat are catalogued and indexed before being made available on the internet, for example. Policy briefings, analyses and expert opinions contribute to parliamentary decision-making. These are provided by the research services, who in this way support the work of members in Parliament and in the constituencies. With 1.4 million volumes, the Bundestag Library is one of the largest parliamentary libraries in the world. The reading room offers a stunning view over the Spree to the Reichstag building and Paul-Löbe building with its Europa Saal. The Bundestag's Committee on the Affairs of the European Union meets in this room. The committee plays a special role in the Parliament's involvement in European policy and oversight of this. In addition to the 34 parliamentarians from the German Bundestag, the EU Affairs Committee also includes 15 German members of the European Parliament. These MEPs are not entitled to vote, but participate in the committee's deliberations. This ensures close cooperation between the Bundestag and the European Parliament. After the committee's detailed work, all draft legislation and other projects, such as Bundeswehr missions abroad, end up in plenary again. There, all members debate these one last time and then put them to a vote. Depending on the topic, there are different forms of voting. In general, members vote by show of hands or standing up. If there are any doubts about the result, the so-called Hammelsprung, or division of the assembly, is used. Here, members first leave the plenary chamber, and then they enter it again by going through one of 3 doors, which are labelled yes, no, or abstention, respectively. Sometimes a recorded vote with personal voting cards is necessary. Here, blue represents yes, red no, and white abstention. The minutes of plenary proceedings document how every member voted. One of the core functions of Parliament is government oversight. Plenary sittings begin with questions addressed to the federal government on Wednesdays in sitting weeks and usually last until Friday afternoon.
Parlamente müssen nicht populär sein. Sie können es auch nicht immer sein.
Parliaments don't have to be popular, and they can't always be. Certainly not if they are to take seriously the duties bestowed upon them by the Constitution and which voters expect of them. That applies to the election and oversight of the government. That applies to legislation, but it also applies to an important function in which Parliament cannot be replaced as the nation's political forum. It is in precisely this regard that the German Bundestag is one of the most striking parliaments in Europe and far beyond, among other reasons because there are few parliaments in the world that have a similar, not to mention greater, influence on personnel and policy decisions as the German Bundestag.
Auf Personal- und Sachentscheidungen haben als der Deutsche Bundestag.